Welcome to Turning Point. This could very well be the biggest turning point in the history of women's cricket in India. Of course, this is for the first time that the men and the women will get equal match fee. BCCI today announced equal match fee for both men and women cricketers. The decision to bring women cricketers on par with the men in terms of match fee is a landmark moment in the history of Indian cricket. BCCI Secretary Jai Shah confirmed that the contracted senior women's cricketers will earn the same match fee as their male counterparts. The decision comes just days after it was decided in the BCCI AGM that the first season of women's IPL will be played in 2023. Now let us look at how much the men and the women will get paid per match. 15 lakh for the test matches, 6 lakh for each ODIs and 3 lakh rupees for each T20 game. You can contrast that with what they used to get before. Earlier, the women's team would get 1 lakh rupees each for a day's match of ODI cricket and T20 cricket and 4 lakh rupees for test matches. And this is what the secretary of the board tweeted. He said, "I'm pleased to announce BCCI's first step towards tackling discrimination. We are implementing pay equity policy." So those are on your screens what the match fees are for the men and women's cricketers, and in the middle column you see that's what women cricketers used to get earlier. At this hour, to talk more about this, I'm joined by former India cricketer Minoti Desai and senior cricket journalist Sharda Ugra. Minoti, coming to you, your first reaction at pay equity. You come from a generation when you struggled for everything from probably travel to getting matches to all kind of basic facilities. But today, coming here, how would you react?
I would say I'm just so surprised, happy, and at the same time, I feel this has made up for everything, whether what I have gone through, or whether my seniors have gone through, or whether my counterparts or juniors. This is just so amazing, and this is really going to make a huge difference here on as well. Not that women cricketers don't play for the love of it, but yeah, this is a huge turnaround. Yeah, in true sense. Gender equality. Yeah.
I also heard a woman cricketer saying, who's lately retired, that it propels me probably to come out of my retirement. Sharda, you know, Jai Shah in his tweet said, "I'm pleased to announce the first step towards tackling discrimination." This is the first step. What else can we expect of the BCCI now?
I think if we are, functioning at this, looking at this completely at face value and in full fairness, it's a great step. I think what we need to do now is basically have a little bit more structured sort of maybe calendars. I was trying to look for what the women's itinerary was for this year, and I couldn't find any, but I couldn't find one for the men either. So in that sense, the BCCI websites is utterly fair when it comes to what they're supporting. I think maybe having definitely putting into place a harassment sort of a cell as to, when it comes to issues like coaches, and because Mr. Shah has talked about discrimination. So let's look at these things of harassment, coaches, the problems that lie in junior selection, for example. So all those things, setting up a women's cricket cell would be a great thing. Maybe checking the kind of domestic contracts, getting domestic contracts into place. So you're looking at a larger group of players to reward for playing cricket. That has to be done for the men as well, because there is a gap there, but not in the sense that we understand it. And I think a lot more transparency in how how the BCCI generates its distributes its revenue, gained from all sources, which is primarily IPL. Team sponsorship, merchandising, shirts. So that would just be fantastic if it did come into place. But this is great. This is fantastic. It's not the contracts though. So the women are still functioning on older contracts, the older contracts, and the numbers, of course, Rika.
Mm-hmm. I think an interesting thing that you said was to have equal pay perhaps for the domestic cricketers, because the idea at the end is to have more women join the workforce, to have more women play cricket. And on the topic of the number of matches, let me go over to Minoti. You know, big discrimination still what I see is in the number of matches. 15 lakh rupees to be played to cricketers to play test cricket, but how many tests do you expect these women to play as compared to the men?
Well, I will not compare at any stage women and men cricketer. It is totally different. It's just not fair. I personally feel even though women work as hard as men, when it comes to the progress, if you see how we have progressed from 70s to here is quite remarkable, phenomenal. And I also, before I talk about this point, I would want to go back to the point that you were making that also when it comes to the administration side of things, like the coaches or the selectors for the state teams, or it is entirely, I personally feel that probably BCCI should decide basic minimum wages for the selectors, because if you ever pick up the chart of let's say you pick up 10 states in India, and you pick up each state is paying differently to the selectors or to the administrator or whosoever is directly or indirectly involved. That's my point number one. And point number two is that I would say that minimum of 10 test matches, because that is what is the backbone of cricket. Even if the new generation goes in for T20, or tomorrow we might even see 10 overs match, but I feel that minimum of whether you distribute in 3 matches series or 2 matches or one test.
You mean 10 a year?
10 a year, yes,
Okay.
minimum. That should be the number given to women cricketers. Yes.
Sharda, would you say the biggest disparity here remains the number of matches, though you've given equal pay per match, but I was counting, Indian cricket team will end up playing about 83 matches this year, and the women's team over the next 3 years, including 2022, will play 65 matches.
Yeah, that's a fundamental sort of difference that there will be. I mean, when the New Zealand board announced that it was going to give equal pay per match for its men's and its women's players, this is what they said, that it's understood that the women will get less because they play fewer games. What Minoti was just saying now about test matches, Rika, it's like test matches are becoming more and more rare, even across in teams like England and Australia. So if you look at, say, from last August till now, you're looking at 21, almost a year and a bit, maybe 14 months or so. The only teams that have played test matches have been Australia, England, South Africa and India. And they only played 2 test matches. Like India played 1 test, South Africa played 1 test, England and Australia played 2. And that was it. There was no more test cricket. It was all 2020 and 50 over cricket. So I think that in a way, but then you're looking at it and saying, okay, from if you've paid them sort of 6 lakhs per ODI and T20, you're saying, all right, you'll at least play a good amount of T20s. Maybe it won't be the 15 lakh game. You'll at least play the 6 lakh game in that sense.
Now, let me also talk about, Minoti, the IPL coming in, and BCCI is keen on getting a new television contract for the women's team. Do you think that the pay gap will be further bridged when we have a television contract for women's IPL? The graphic on your screen right now is the graded contract for the players, and the right-hand side column will see a northward movement when money from television rights come in?
Well, again, I will say the same thing, that let's look at men's cricket and IPL that they've been playing for a number of years. So getting into the first year, I think I'll be happy with even I wouldn't say it should be the minimum amount or the maximum, because you can't decide value of a player based on. But it depends on the sponsors. It depends on the kind of curiosity and interest it creates. But yes, it's definitely a very big thing that has happened, that we have initiated, that we are going to have IPL. And I'm sure that as women cricket gathers more popularity that it has in last 5 years, will be there soon. So I'm not in a hurry. Yeah.
Well, it's a major step in the right direction by BCCI and lots more to come with the IPL being announced. But the first thing that BCCI has done today is to raise the value of women's cricket overall. Thank you very much, Sharda and Minoti, for joining me on that topic at this hour.